the state now.
Yeah, is he still on that permit? I still call him.
Wait till the last one.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I will go ahead and call the special called council meeting to order. And with that, turn it over to you, Administrator Slack.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Council. Thank you all for being here. We are going to present to you over the next few minutes some options for employee health insurance coverage that meets some of your goals and also seeks to provide continuing consistent quality health care to our employees and at a dramatic savings. Rick Woodard at the Woodard Agency made a liar out of me from my declaration at the Finance Committee meeting this month that all we were trying to do was reduce the increase. We weren't going to get a decrease, but he was able to accomplish that. And so that's what we're going to go through right now. I want to thank Chris Grant and Rhonda Moore for their super hard work on being a part of the team and helping us work through the evaluation of the option that we're going to present to you, and then all of the information that it took to get us to this point. Chris, in particular, has been working on this for months now, and I just wanted to extend a thanks to those two. We had our employee biometric screenings today. So folks came in and got their fingers pricked and got instant results about how good or bad their cholesterol is and all the other things that normally you have to wait a couple of weeks on. So thanks to Jessica Green and Chris's office for setting all that up. And of course, those are things that we'll continue to do. So Beth, if you'll start the first slide here, we'll start walking through it. This top number is the quote that Blue Cross Blue Shield shared with us a few weeks ago that I shared with you at the Finance Committee meeting. That is a 14 plus, almost 15% increase over what we are paying right now for the same coverage through Blue Cross Blue Shield South Carolina. We tasked the Woodard Agency, the Woodard Group, with going out and exploring options for us to bring to you that would, at a minimum, get us as close to that number as we could, or even reduce it, but only in terms of the amount of the increase. He went to the market. Blue Cross Blue Shield quoted us this as our renewal point here. So the same coverage that we have with Blue Cross Blue Shield South Carolina was going to go up about $800 and some odd thousand if we stood pat with the plan that we have right now. Woodard got Cigna to quote at $6.456 million, and then he presented two options: Blue Cross Blue Shield Gold and Blue Cross Blue Shield Silver. What's the difference between these two, you might ask? Is this is a pool of only South Carolina plan members. This is what I call Big Blue Cross, Big Blue across the entire, a much larger pool, 500,000 lives, I think he said.
So our plan is just us as a town.
Yes, yes, that's right. That's right, within the Blue Cross Blue Shield South Carolina.
And the gold is, and the silver is South Carolina only.
Okay, all right, I thought that was more actually. Anyway, thank you for that clarification. So, these numbers here represent the increase or the decrease over what we are currently spending. And at the renewal, you'll see for what we have now is over almost $900,000. Cigna is almost $500,000 more. The Blue Cross Gold is about $80,000 less. And then the Blue Cross Silver is over $800,000 less than what we are paying right now. Okay, those are the comparisons in terms of the dollars. Any questions about that? Yes. This Cigna, by the way, and Blue Cross were the only two that Woodard could get to quote us. FYI.
Did you say that the two at the bottom were state only and the one at the top was?
These are the state pool. This is everybody in the state that Blue Cross covers is in this pool. This was just us.
And does that mean if you chose to go out of the state for treatment, like I know my brother had a similar plan, and when he went to Duke, it wasn't covered. because it was out of the state of South Carolina.
Yes, it's a question of in-network or out-of-network. It doesn't necessarily mean the state itself. It's whether or not somebody, a provider is within the network of Blue Cross. And that could extend beyond state borders. It just depends. Okay, there. I've got that right?
Yes.
All right, well, tell me if I'm wrong. All right, Beth, go to the next slide, please. This one is a comparison then of the benefits to the employees between our current Blue Cross Blue Shield plan of South Carolina and the Blue Extend Silver plan, which is the one that we are recommending that you ask us to move forward on converting to tonight. Let me just talk, before I get to here, let me talk just real quickly. Our renewal starts October the 1st of this year. So a little over about a month and a half is when our normal renewal period would start, okay? So if we move forward with converting over to the silver plan, then the Woodard Group and Blue Cross and benefit coordinators, who I'll talk more about in just a minute, need time to get everybody moved onto the new plan document, choices about coverages, ID cards, those kinds of things. And so time is of the essence, unfortunately, for us to make this decision. In fact, we need to report to them tomorrow what our decision is as to whether or not to move forward with silver. Okay, so that's why we had to have the special meeting this evening. We're recommending the silver, and I'll explain why in the next couple of slides. So what I'm going to show you here is over here on the left is the current deductibles that employees are paying on their plans right now. This column is what the Blue Extend deductibles, max out of pocket, and copays are right now under normal circumstances. Okay, you'll see that these numbers are bigger, obviously, than these numbers. Okay, how then is this a better plan? What we will propose to do, and what the Woodard Group is proposing that we do, is set up what's called an ICHRA, an individual coverage health reimbursement arrangement. This is a tool that has been available to the U.S. through regulatory means, but it was codified in the bill that the Congress just recently passed, so that it is now law. There's no question about whether or not this is a legitimate source of providing relief for healthcare expenses. What we're proposing to do then is set up an ICHRA that would pay each employee and their family, or whatever coverage level they have, $3,400, so that the $3,400 reduces the current deductible for the individual and family from $1,500 and $1,000. I'm sorry, from $4,400 and $8,800 in the plan, in the regular plan, down to $1,000 and $2,000. That translates into a savings under our current plan of $500 and $1,000 on the deductible for the individual and the family. Okay, so this is what employees would pay under the silver plan, but we're going to set up the ICHRA so that they actually will only pay these deductibles and these copays, and this is what they would save over what they're paying right now. Is everybody following? Mm-hmm. So employees will say, bottom line is, employees will save $500 on the deductible. They'll save $1,000 on the family coverage under the deductible. Co-insurance is going to go up about 10%. The max out of pocket will go down from what everybody is paying now, up $7,900 for individual, $15,800 in family coverage. The maximum out of pocket will fall to $3,500 and $5,000. Now, let me mention something about how we get to this math and what that will cost, and it's going to be on the next slide as well. 155 of our plan holders out of our 400 and some odd. We cover 800 lives, but we have 400 and some odd plan holders who are employees, okay? Of that 400 and some odd plan holders, in the last fiscal year, I think that's right, fiscal year, or was it the calendar year?
Plan year.
The last plan year, which was 10/1 to September 30, 155 of those plan holders met their deductible, and of that 155, only 53 met their max out of pocket. Okay? So if that, and that's about the industry standard, between 30 and 35% of a pool is meeting those according to the analysis. So we're calculating that a little more conservatively that 160 will hit those numbers-ish. So even if those people hit those maxes, they're going to save $3,500 and $5,000 on the maximum out of pocket. Okay. Now, the Blue Care on Demand, there's no change in the PCP. Blue Care on Demand goes down by $10, $20 versus $30. Specialist goes up, the copay $5, urgent care $5. The emergency room visits will go up by $300 and the co-insurance will go up 10%. But remember, we've been discouraging employees and they've been doing a good job to not go to the emergency room unless it's in fact an emergency. So these numbers here aren't going to affect very many people. What was the emergency room usage? Do you remember? It was small. It was a lot smaller than I expected it. Thought it was going to be. It was not a big number. 10% co-insurance change here, 25% increase in, or $25 increase in copays. No changes in the 0 tier or the tier 1 drugs, and then you see the 35 and 80% increase in the tier 2 and tier 3. 3 and 4, these are like the really super specialty drugs. Think like cancer drugs in here in this tier 3, tier 4. Now, yes, these numbers here are going to go up by a modest amount. However, the savings that employees are getting by way of the ICRA that we're going to contribute to, and I'll explain how we'll do that in a minute. The savings that they're going to have here will help offset some of these costs. That's our expectation. Okay. Yes.
Only because I'm very ignorant to this. What up there constitutes a contributor to the max out of pocket? Does co-insurance fall into the max out of pocket category?
Yes,
It does.
Okay.
And typically it involves a procedure like an operation, an admittance, that type.
And copay as well?
Rick told me co-pays did as well, because we talked about that yesterday.
So
That was
as
right.
long as all of those contribute to the max out of pocket, the max out of pocket reduction significantly helps.
yes,
You just have to come out of pocket first
yes.
before they get the reimbursement.
We're going to talk about mechanics in just a minute.
Sorry.
Yeah, we'll talk about mechanics in a minute.
So to follow up on what he said, because that's kind of my question. So once you hit that max out of pocket,
Mhm.
your co-insurance is then 0, or your co-insurance is then, it's still,
It should be going to 100%. I think that's right. It goes, once you hit your max out of pocket, if you hit this number right here, everything over that's going to be 100% covered. That doesn't change.
Are there any changes in premiums for employees?
No.
Okay.
Employee contributions will stay the same, and we'll talk about that in just a second. Okay? All right, there's the comparison of the benefits. Any other questions about that? Let's go to the next slide, please.
Wait for you on the shoe to drop, Scott.
Where's the badges?
Sweden's through the bushes there. He is.
All right. So our renewal that Blue Cross Blue Shield quoted us at 6.866%, 6.866 million. Okay, that's the number I gave you at the finance committee meeting. That's the number that we've been benchmarking off of. The silver plan, as opposed to a 15% increase, as opposed to a 15% increase on the renewal, is a 15% decrease from the renewal, so that our premiums will be a little over $5 million, $5.1 million. That's what we'll pay in the next plan year. However, employee contributions that are going to stay exactly where they are reduces this number down to almost $4.5 million. Because remember, the town contributes a percentage of the premium to employee child, employee family. Anything over employee only, the town contributes to a portion of. That's what this number represents here. That is the net of this number minus employees' premium increases, premium contributions. Everybody following that?
And just to point out to council, this is the loose sheet that was set.
Yeah, there's a new sheet. There's a new sheet. The first one was had a bad formula error on it.
Yeah.
So now this is where the ICRIC comes in. The individual coverage health reimbursement arrangement. We will fund that 160, we think, employees, that $3,400 contribution to get their deductible down to $1,000 from $1,500 that they're paying now. The town will contribute $544,000. This is the amount of money that we will set aside from what is currently budgeted at $5.6 million. We'll set that aside and we will use this to reimburse employees once they go over their deductible. So remember, the Silver Plan's deductible for individuals is $4,400. But we don't want the employees to pay that. We want them to pay a maximum of $1,000 for their deductible. Once they get to $1,000 in deductibles paid out, they will go in, they'll continue to pay their deductible over that $1,000. But when they do, the town will reimburse them for that deductible amount out of this pot of money, $544,000. This is the ICRA right here.
And they have to submit that.
Yes, they'll have to submit their EOB to Benefit Coordinators, who's a company that helps administer these programs all over the place. We're going to pay them $48,000 for their service. They'll submit that to Benefit Coordinators, and Benefit Coordinators, within a week of that submission, will send to the employee that amount of money to reimburse them. Okay?
Do we contract them?
Yes, we'll contract it. We'll contract it. There's an app. It's super easy to do this filing. Employees are going to have to work just a little bit, but they will get the benefit of that reimbursement within the week once they submit that information. Benefit Coordinators will be standing by as a resource for employees. The Woodard Group is standing by as a resource, and of course, town staff will be standing by to help employees to help them navigate through this process in order to get reimbursed. Benefit Coordinators and the Woodard Group are adamant that they're not in the business when it comes to this of denying employees the reimbursement. Okay, they want employees to get that money back after they've spent it. So the employee will have to float that deductible amount over the $1,000. Remember, they're having to pay $1,500 now as an employee only. They'll have to float that over the $1,000 until they get that EOB, and then submit it for reimbursement, and then get paid back within a week of the submission of the reimbursement. Okay.
Up to 44, from 1,500 to 4,400, right? For an
Right, yes. So, when you take the premium, plus the administrative costs, plus the HRA funding, the ICRA funding, that gives us a total of not quite $5.1 million, $5,086,000. We budgeted $5.65 million for health insurance employee premiums, which leaves us a net of $563,355. This amount of money is cash that will be sitting in what I'll call a trust fund. We'll set it up as a separate fund. All this accounting is going to take place in a separate fund So that when we, at the end of the year, the planned year, have an amount of cash, this money is available to fund this the next year and or seed benefits going forward and working towards benefits going forward, primarily the in-house clinic. That's the math. Any questions about the math?
Has the in-house clinic been voted on?
No, but we've had discussions about it, particularly this budget season. There were several mentions of it and discussions about it in budget meetings.
We're not ready.
No,
Not ready.
this is
We're not
not
even
happening this year. This is not happening within the next 12 months. This is seed money moving towards the goal of having our own clinic.
So,
But shouldn't that be discussed as a council if that's actually a goal? Shouldn't council vote on that?
Once we net some money out, yeah, y'all are gonna have to make decisions about what you're gonna do with that money.
so, I said something. So the HRA funding cost, the 544, that's an estimate, okay? The town portion, that's an estimate. That is a function of how many we have employee only, employee spouse, employee family, and that mix changes every day. So we went with our average on what we're looking at. If we have a very healthy year, we might not spend $544,000. If we have it's not so good, we might spend a little bit more than that, and that 563 will not be there. I think we have to get a year into this to see what it really looks like. We have some cushion, but to me, I feel good about the numbers, at least where we are. Now, I would encourage you from budget year to budget year, and what I'm going to certainly propose is that $5,600,000, that is your either standard budget or maybe bumped by 1 or 2%. Not a lot, but that way we hold that steady, and then we have the ability, maybe we have the ability to reduce the debt bill even more for employees. I mean, there are lots of options that we can do if we have that there. But stop the bleeding is kind of where we
This
trying
number,
to get to.
this number needs to continue to go up, but at least it ain't going up 15%.
10%. This percent's a lot better.
Stop the bleeding is a good analogy when we talk about health insurance. I have a couple questions.
Yes.
Is the $5,095,000 like an introductory price? Like Spectrum offers me a great deal. I go with them, but year 2, 3, 4, and 5, I'm actually paying more.
Yeah.
By the time it gets.
So we talked about that. We asked about that. This number here for Big Blue, we'll call it, is about 8% increase across their whole program. Okay, as opposed to the 10% minimum that Blue Cross South Carolina discussed with us when they came in and gave us our quote. So we should not, because we're going into because we're not on our own, we're going into a much bigger pool. The increases should not be nearly as dramatic as what they quoted us this time.
Okay.
It doesn't say that they're not going to go up. They're going to continue to go up, but not double-digit increases. We hope the way that we would expect if we were on our own, like we are.
It's a standard increase that anybody else would.
Correct.
And then same question for the administrative fees and the administrative fees. Do we have any control over it? And that's a small percentage.
Yeah.
Do we have any control over how that might increase?
We could have Woodard help us negotiate. We didn't really talk about that because it's a
Drop in the bucket
Yeah.
compared to $5 million.
Yeah.
But having somebody really professional in that area is really, really important.
And this, I have had personal experience with this group on other plans that I've been a part of. So they're very good.
I'm sorry, Chris, you had something to add. I'm sorry.
I was just gonna say the expectation, Woodard was very confident that it would lock us in, going with the silver plan, lock us into just biggest exposure would be single digit increases year after year. And based on recent history of the last few years, it was very possible that quite often and probably most would be more in the 3 to 5% range. So that low.
Okay. The other thing you need to keep in mind is we're getting younger, and as I mentioned at the Finance Committee meeting, our experience has gotten better incrementally over the last number of years, and so we would hope to continue that incremental progress, which has an effect, obviously, on where they set that rate. If we're less healthy, then they got to go up, but if we're more healthy, they don't have to. Thank you.
All right. My concern, focusing on the lowest paid employees bridging the gap.
Yes.
Do we have any way of making sure that they're shored up and they don't, miss a house payment?
Well,
as they bridge this gap, I just don't want them to be where we're putting them in harm's way. We just gotta find a way to make sure this process works at a speed.
Right.
In which doesn't really hurt them financially.
Right,
so we can,
that's my concern.
well, remember, the most pain would be felt between that time that they paid that copay or that deductible over the $1,000 versus the amount of time it takes to get that EOB back, submitted, and get reimbursed. There's no reason that we couldn't get creative with this number, and set it up so that we have on a case-by-case basis, set up some sort of a safety net to prevent something like that from happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We can talk about that, but we'll talk about that.
There's flexibility because of where it is
Correct.
in our budget.
Yes, because of this number right here, we have some options. Okay.
It's been fast, but work on this. It's going about pretty quickly.
Yes.
Have you had a chance to read what it is?
No.
No.
This is the first time any of these folks are here.
I know someone's seen it now, so.
Yeah.
I mean, and I don't want to sound callous,
Right.
but y'all the decision makers.
Here we are.
But getting this here and then seeding a greater benefit going forward is something that I've heard repeatedly from some of the people that are sitting here.
I would think the fact that the premiums are changing would be a big.
Correct.
So, but that was all.
So in addition
to premiums go 3%.
In addition to hearing that from y'all, seeding future benefits, I'm getting it on the employee side as well.
Right.
Bob.
Chris, with the benefit coordinators, is that gonna help your department out in workload?
Yeah, going to a plan like this, we very much would need them, and they are sort of the big dog in that space. They're very experienced, and the feedback is fantastic on them and their performance. And this is a little more administratively robust requirement-wise, but well worth it. Well,
Does this positively or negatively impact the discussion we're gonna have in October about retirees' health insurance?
Well,
You said they're going through a separate pools.
Well, this number here positively affects those discussions. Because Woodard has talked about tools that we could use and see potentially here, certainly with our own clinic. Obviously, that would be a benefit to retirees at minimal cost. But within this number here, we're asking this number to do a lot, but within this number here, and with some plans that we can offer to 65 and over, that's something that we can move towards to become closer to a reality.
So it
I
helps.
can't commit to it today. It helps us getting
It
there.
helps that conversation.
Yes, very much so. Very much so. Very much so. And the other benefit about getting 65 and over out of this pool, out of our experience rating, is gonna help keep our rate increases down as well. And they know that. They're, everybody is smart enough to know that. Okay. Any questions about this math or what I'm talking about so far? Richard, I know you gotta go, so. Next slide, please. So the pros and the cons, employee contributions stay the same, deductibles decrease, maximum out of pocket decrease. It's a step toward funding the in-house clinic, and I didn't include on here, but also and retiree benefit potentially. The cons, of course, the increases in co-pays, the small increases in the co-insurance floors. Walgreens does not work and play well with this plan, but we don't think that that's a tremendous obstacle. Talk about the administrative groups, but again, the support. We have 3 different groups that are going to support employees, including our staff, and for coordinators and work group. And then this is a little issue because the silver plan is on a calendar year and we've been on a federal fiscal year, October 1 to September 30. Back to that number that we're asking a lot of. Maybe some deductible issues for folks because essentially we're going to have a 3-month plan under the new plan. We'll do a 3-month plan year, if you will, to get us to the January 1st start for our regular cycle. So if we're going to encourage folks to not, if they have some elective procedures that they need to do, that they can hold off until January 1, it'll reduce that deductible liability that they may face. But again, we can go on a case-by-case basis, address if issues prop up, we can address those on an individual basis.
Moving our budget year to match the calendar.
I wish we'd never changed from.
I personally would rather us stay on the July 1 fiscal year. It's just splitting 6-month periods. That's all. The one thing about it is, you know, we have certainty on the first 6 months of fiscal year because we already have those numbers in hand. But 6 months after
And this is short term, but this rate will actually give us 15 months, you know, the 12 plus the 3.
Right.
So before we have to kind of look at it again.
Yep.
Is there a reason why y'all didn't look at the gold plan? Because it still seemed to save money and it seemed to be a much better plan.
No, next one. No, slide forward. Next one. There you go.
Or we don't have that.
Killing me, Lenny. No, go to this one right here. That one right there. There you go. Try and meet y'all's aspirations, to try and meet employees' aspirations. This is why we chose this.
When you say employees' aspirations.
For additional benefits in the future.
Another way to look at it, let me just say, is that the gold plan would be almost as much as the increase with our captive Blue Cross plan. The premium would be 6.7 million this new plan year. With our captive current Blue Cross plan, it would be 6.8 million.
Which would not allow us to do this.
It would not allow us to do any of that. It's basically like it'd be the same money with a huge increase.
We wouldn't be able to subsidize the deductible the way we are with the increase.
But the deductible on that was $1,000 anyways. It's only $1,000, so you wouldn't need the HICRA.
But it's how much? What was it? 6 million.
6.7 million. So the premium would come in at.
It's
$1.1 million more than what we budgeted.
It's almost like overbuying insurance. If you only have 160 people out of our 800 lives that meet the deductible, then you're paying for that lower deductible for all 800 people when you really only have 165 that need it. So we're using that surplus to effectively take care of those 160 and not overbuy in for the rest of the population.
And so the red would be $80,000 less,
This says 80,000 savings.
but 80,000.
That's over
80,000 like
what?
versus-
Over this number.
Yeah.
Overall renewal.
80,000 savings on the renewal.
Over the renewal.
Let me also point out to everybody that HRA funding, that 444,000, that is almost like a worst case scenario. That's 160 times $3,400. So that's assuming that every person who goes over that $1,000 deductible goes all the way to 4,400. And keep in mind that 160 figure, well, So it was actually 153 in actual data, that hit it. Some of them just hit that 1,500 or a little over. So in actuality, it's not gonna be 160 people that were paying $3,400 out. So in all likelihood, what we spend of that 544 will be significantly less than that.
So
So this number goes up.
So yeah,
we just keep rolling over year to.
that's what's suggested,
That's up to y'all.
yeah.
That'll be up to
Up
y'all.
to some certain.
But up to a significant amount, yeah, to where we could fund the clinic fully or other things, other benefits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Self-insurance.
Self-insured.
Self-insured, I
Yeah.
think is better than a clinic.
Self-insured is one of the things we talked about too. But I think until we get a handle on, our claims,
Costs and claims.
claims and costs, we can't.
Step 2.
Yeah.
That's.
Right?
That's the
Action.
option, that's the plan that we are setting for you, and we need your permission to move forward by way of a vote, please.
I'll make a motion and we accept this proposal.
Say.
All right, motion and a second to accept. Any other discussion? Hearing that. Oh, go ahead.
I am not for this just because I feel like, the urgent care is going up, the emergency room's going up. You get a government job that pays less than private because of the benefits. I feel like it's gonna cost people more money out of pocket, more hassle to submit. People are gonna end up not submitting, they're gonna end up, I feel like it's gonna affect the lower level people at the, here more so, and so I'm not voting in support of it, but that's my thoughts.
I would hope, and I would assume that this would come with a lot of education to our folks.
To that point, Woodard is going to sit down with all 400 and some odd plan holders between now and October 1st. When they sign them up, we're going to have multiple department meetings. We're going to have multiple big meetings, individual counseling. So yes, the education is going to be a huge part of what Woodard and the rest of the HR staff are going to
Does
do.
everybody get issued new cards?
Yes.
That's why we're in a little bit of a crunch.
Any other discussion? I'll just say thank you, Rhonda, Chris, Scott,
Yes.
for doing this, working through it, seeing y'all's confidence in this, Bill's confidence in me. But that flexibility to help our lowest level employees on that savings that we have, especially in this first year, while we really get our feet under us. And that's gonna help those lower level employees.
So let's talk pay increases come next budget season.
All right,
I think we're doing October.
all right.
Aim for us.
Cut. All right, hearing no other discussion, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Okay.
All right, the ayes have it. Motion second to adjourn, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We are adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you.